some information out today, and we've got a couple of stories covered from 3 News, which is pretty concerning. The first one is based around child poverty targets. Now, I just want to show you something. July of last year, the government diluted their targets. So, so last year, middle of last year, give or take, they changed the targets for what they would deem to be a success. In fact, I've got 60 seconds here from that story just to remind you where we were at, right? So this is July of last year, the government, the current government, changing the targets for child poverty.
Under the Child Poverty Reduction Act, introduced by the Labor government in 2018, the government's required to set medium and long-term targets for reducing child poverty against 3 measures. The 2023-24 target for children living in material hardship set by the previous government was 9%. However, Minister for Child Poverty Reduction Louise Upston has set the new target at 11%.
So this is what they did in July last year. They went, oh, we're going to get a target which is easier to hit. Now, if you're being generous, one might argue they needed to make it easier to hit, better to hit an easier target than miss a hard one. But for whatever reason, they decided to water down their targets. That it's not just 1 or 2 kids either when you start watering it down.
According to Parliamentary Library research, the 2 percentage point difference amounts to an estimated 17,000 more children living in material hardship. While the Children's Commission analysis, released exclusively to 3 News, estimated it could be up to 23,730 using more up-to-date population figures.
This is the government accepting around 24,000 more children are going to be in material hardship. That's unacceptable.
So that was the story from the middle of the year. So there was targets that governments needed to hit for child poverty to basically say we are being successful with child poverty, you know? And guess what, Chewie? Go on, see if you can guess.
It's got worse.
They
worse,
missed their targets. Now, it's one of these examples where we will measure them by their own words. They made the target easier for themselves by being happy enough by saying if there's only another 20,000 kids in poverty, that will be an okay result for us. And yet they still missed it.
The government's child poverty report card is out and it's a fail. Stats NZ has released its child poverty report, which shows progress to combat poverty has stalled. But the minister is calling this an encouraging report. Glenn McConnell with the story.
Stocking the shelves, a luxury that thousands of families just can't afford. 156,000 tamariki, our smallest and most precious New Zealanders, are going without.
What we have seen over the last few years is that we are failing to make progress on reducing child poverty.
Here's the government's official assessment on child poverty reduction.
None of those 3 targets have been met.
We are still failing on child poverty reduction.
Under the law, the government has 3 targets for child poverty reduction, and
it is interesting that they say under the law. Now, they're saying the bill, the law. But if it was something that was legally binding, what happens if the government misses it? I'm sure that's not how they're using the word law there, but under the law,
straight to jail.
Do not pass go, do not collect 200.
Straight to jail.
So the law meaning the law that they've made in the land, law of the land, as opposed to the legal law, criminal law.
on all 3, it has failed. The government is behind target on boosting disposable income for families, both before and after housing costs, and it has fallen behind for reducing material hardship as well.
You notice in this graph, or this graphic show there, under 2020, 2021, there's those big green things. Those big green things with a white line in them. That's it's a bit like a V, but one side of the V is a bit taller than the other side. I don't think I've ever seen those before under a national government. I'm not entirely sure what they are. I mean, this is under a Labor government, the column here. This is Labor, and there's these weird green V things. These I know what this is. This is a cross or an X. This means no. This government, no.
Very
The previous-
familiar with no.
Yeah, the previous government missed. They got a no for disposable income before housing costs, but they got this other strange. I don't know what you'd call that. A capital V something. So it seems to me that the previous government was at least 2/3 different from this. Maybe they're a good sign, because if this is the bad sign, maybe that means they were 2/3 better. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. As I said, I'm just not used to seeing that green little V thingy with the high V under a national government. But it's interesting that under a Labour government, there's two. I mean, green for go. Maybe it's a stoplight. There's two greens, which is better.
But Pat, remember, these kids deserve this. They're both poor and not of voting age, and they can't work because of the woke legislation that has booted them out of the mines and factories.
Yeah.
So really, do we care?
Yeah, not sure.
Sorry, got taken over by the ghost of fucking some horrible bastard. It's definitely not how I think.
Right.
But yeah,
let's see.
Go on. No, go on.
You go on. I'm just waiting for your pearls of wisdom, Chi. Off you go.
The two thoughts that I have, right, is if you were going to water down targets, right, that's you're just walking into a trap at that point, because if you're going to water them down, at least fucking hit them. Like, I would be happy if a government said, look, we hit some really tough targets. We set some tough targets for ourselves and we didn't get there. But child poverty is trending downwards. We're on the right track. Whereas to water this down and then still not hit it, and also not be able to say, I don't know if it is trending down or not, that would be a way that they could say this, is saying, hey, look, it is still trending downwards. We are still making an impact. There are less kids in poverty than when we started. But they haven't said that, which means it's probably not the case. The other thing, the other thought that springs to mind is whenever a government quotes a percentage or changes the percentage, I think in every case, there should also be the number that represents. Like, if they're going to talk about, there's, I don't know, 150,000 gang members in New Zealand, then show me the percentage of the population that is, so I can weigh up whether that's important. Is it a big scary number, or is it the small number with the thing beside it? But we need to see both to give context. But they'll hide behind whichever one it is. Like, if it's a good big number, we'll see the big number. We won't see the little percentage point. If it's a bad one, we'll hide behind the percentage point. Like, this is just something that should be standard whenever these guys are talking about anything, any government.
That ghost attack you just had, Carl wants to know if it was the ghost of Thatcher.
The children crave the mine.
A couple of things, yeah. The first is, you'll be pleased to know, Chewie, there is a graph coming up later on in the story, and we can see how it's trending. But the other thing is, I mean, I'm no mathematician or nothing. I don't know numbers. I don't know how it works, but I just have this ponderance. I wonder, with this whole kind of no, like what $17 billion could have done in this situation. Like, my understanding is, I don't exactly know why, but for some reason the government coffers are down $17 billion than they were before this government came in. I wonder if maybe they've lost it down the back of the couch. Maybe they bought one too many lotto tickets. I don't know where it actually went, but I wonder if they had that back, that $17 billion that's just disappeared through no one's fault or no one's decisions, if that could have possibly helped this issue. It's just, I know it's a crazy thought, but I just thought I'd throw it out there, you know.
Just a mystery.
They might be unable to afford fresh fruit or vegetables. They have to put off going to the doctor or the dentist because of the cost. Or they might get an unexpected bill of $500 and they just wouldn't be able to pay it.
Those are children living without the basics. SATS New Zealand's official report showed that since 2021, material hardship has been increasing.
So let's look at the graph. very, very high under the last, who was in charge in 2015? That was the blue guys, yeah. But, you know, it dropped significantly under the blue guys, which is good. It kind of went up a bit and it was trending up. And then under the red guys, she started to trend down and trend down and trend down and trend down. And then what happened under the blue guys again? Whoop, whoop, whoop. She's starting to go up. So we have a couple of patterns here. We have a good drop off under the John Key blue guys, then a little bit of a starting to climb, and then a Jacinda Ardern government comes in and that starts to trend down. Then the blue guys come in and it starts to trend up again. I wonder if anything could be read into that about trending up under blue and trending down under red. I wonder if there's anything that can be drawn from those trends that we can make some, you know, statements about the policies behind those colours, Chewie. I don't know. What do you think?
My mind is just locked on to the fact that they told us before that the difference between 9 and 11% is potentially 23,000 children. And
Yep.
I'm looking at a graph that is hovering somewhere between 10 and 15%.
Mm.
So
true.
that's a shitload of children that don't have shoes, full bellies, aren't healthy, aren't in a warm home. Like that's the reality. They can hide behind the numbers and graphs and percentage points. That's what they're talking about when you're talking about child poverty. You're talking about children that won't even get, like when you talk about climbing a ladder out of their situation, their ladder is missing 5 rungs at the bottom. You are looking at a future underclass. You are looking at the recruits 10, 15 years down the road for the gangs that this government seems to want to be really focused on stopping. They're growing the recruits.
I think you've probably got one of these things too, Chewie. I've got this thing in the back of my neck called my bullshit nerve. And every now and again it goes, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And as I sit here and think about that level of drop over 1 year, my bullshit nerve's going off. I'll do some research whilst we're watching this, but I just wonder. Is
that when they moved the goalposts?
If they decided to measure, if they decided to measure poverty differently, because blue, I mean, like it's trending down, trending up. It's not a good thing, yeah. But the trends are very, very small. I mean, what happened in 2015 under a national government to see this? My bullshit nerve's going off a bit, and I'm just lending my initial thoughts towards, I wonder if they changed how they measure children in material hardship. So I'll do a little bit of looking up and that way watch some more of this story, yeah?
These results are for the year ending June 2024, the crossover of Labour and national governments.
We took steps to prioritise our poorest children at that time. Did we get as far as what we would have liked to? No, certainly we didn't, but that work needs to continue.
Both the Prime Minister and Minister for Child Poverty Reduction, Louise Upson, were missing from Parliament as these results came out. But the Minister issued a statement.
Strange, eh? They weren't there. I wonder why not. Just coincidence, probably. Just coincidence. Just coincidence.
Saying it was encouraging to see no significant increase in child poverty growth. No big increase, but no relief for families struggling to put food on the table.
There you go, Chewie. Yeah. Thoughts anymore?
Today was the last sitting.
Oh,
got it.
Did you know that? Yeah, look, if a government came in and went, we've spent a huge amount of money combating child poverty, we have poured money into low decile schools, into funding health clinics in the area to make sure that they're not in a food desert, that we have the training initiatives to make sure that people get into work and all of that. So if we've solved all of that, we spent an ungodly amount of money, but we've fixed it now. We've broken the cycle. That's when someone can go, maybe we could dedicate some of this money to tax cuts in some way. We've fixed the problem. You know, all of the people that work in these areas, the social providers, the NGOs, the schools, teachers, they all know what needs to happen, and it takes money. It takes money, and it takes time to break people out of a path. It's some of the same language that the government used around boot camps, right? They want to get people back on track. What if they never went off the track?
Yeah.
What if the people that had shitty upbringings and had terrible parents and made shitty choices and that sort of thing, and then brought children into the world, got more help? Because it wasn't about rewarding their bad decisions or their bad luck or you know, all of that sort of thing. They just didn't have the advantages that everybody else had. They started off behind everybody else. But we didn't care about that. We cared about the kids. It's all about breaking the cycle. And whenever we see something like this where they go, we're comfortable with a higher percentage of desperately poor children. Like, personally, I think if you're a person that can utter that sentence in all seriousness, two big people should come in from a different room, grab you, drag you out to the car park, and execute you as an example to others, and then give that portfolio to someone else and see if they can say something more positive.
Execute you?
Maybe that would fix it.
See,
I think this whole thing of going, oh yeah, it's a couple of percentage points, it's nothing. We won't even get there. Don't worry about it. When you're talking about real human lives and human futures, it's ghoulish.
Yeah. I haven't been able to find any easily accessible information on changing the ways that they measure child poverty. But I will do a bit of looking around afterwards. It wasn't anything that I thought of. You know, sometimes you get right in the moment, you kind of go, wonder if that drop off just looked a bit too massive.
It's too big. I can't remember someone dropping pallet loads of cash into poor areas around that time. I'm pretty sure that would have made the news.
Yeah. And because like what you're saying, right? If 2%, let's just say 2% is 20,000 people. I mean, that, 10,000 per percent. That means, if I can find that graph, there it is. Found it. That means that's from about that's about 17% to maybe 12. So that's 50,000 kids out in the space of a year. It just doesn't ring. It doesn't look. I'm actually not saying, because I don't know, but it doesn't ring true. It doesn't feel accurate. What happened in 2015 to all of a sudden increase, the comfortability of 50,000 children so much so? You know what I'm saying? I'm saying.
Yeah, it's. I would love to see what outside of changing their targets and missing them.
Yeah.
I would love to be in a room to hear the discussion of like, oh well, what are we going to try? Obviously what we're doing isn't even holding things in place. It's literally getting worse. What can we do? And I want to be in that room so I can scream as the key is the schools in the area. You drop all of the support on the schools in the area. You up their teachers. You up their funds. You feed people from them. That's you anchor a community around that. You get to learn to know the parents. The teachers all know this. The social workers all know this. Why does the government keep on missing it?